in the notes provided by the prosecution and defense. At this point, Mr. McIntosh, I'd like to point out to you the only time the question about the whole Mirandization, fucking out. What you get what I mean? The Mirandization. I'm struggling right now. It's too late. The whole point with the whole Miranda rights reading is only if the prosecution wants to use whatever they say verbally. In this case,
which he did.
In this case, I've thrown that. I've not taken into account what prosecution has said that he said. I'm only taking into account what they found on him. With that being said, I, Chief Justice Nick Patel, find Mr. Marshall Reed guilty for first-degree felony possession and cultivation and distribution of controlled substances, 50 or more units, for having 50 marijuana seeds on him. There is no sufficient evidence provided by the defense to prove that it was not for illegitimate. It was for legitimate reasons. Also, I'd like to point out that you can only carry one seed or a bag of marijuana. You can only legally carry that many amount. That being said, the charges for the first-degree felony are going to be the recommended imprisonment is 100 months and a minimum fine of 25. I'm just going to have a quick look at.
Your Honor, just please take into consideration, as I stated, this was taken from a subject, I guess, a patient earlier in the day. He was the only medic available and did not have time as he was responding to calls nonstop. It wasn't any malicious intent behind it. Please take that in consideration, if you could.
Honor, the prosecution would also like to note that the defendant did give up willingly. There was no struggle in the arrest.
Having taken it into both recommendations, I still find Mr. Marshall Reed guilty for possession of 50 units of marijuana. Even if he took it off of someone during the day, he should have thrown it away or given it to an SD officer. I do also understand he was the only EMS on. In that case, he should have actually had his evidence ready for you, defense, to show that he had actually picked up from someone else. Taking into his nice behavior when the arrest was taking place, I will compensate.
User joined your channel.
Deduct 50 months from his 100-month sentence to a 50-month sentence, but his fine will still be $75,000. And that is how I've ruled. That is my final ruling. SD officers or a court officer, please fine Mr. Marshall Reed $75,000 and let me know if he's paid that fee. After that, please proceed to put him into the general population DOC. So Richard Jackson, please confirm Mr. Marshall Reed has paid the fine.
How much is the fine again?
$55,000.
55,000.
$25,000. 25000.
75.
Okay. Oh, I'm sorry. 7500.
75,000 much.
Okay. I'm sorry.
User left your channel.
Zeros. Mr. Marshall Reed, I would just like to point out at this point, I know you may have a question in your head. We as DOJ will still have to inform your faction command of your charge. We are not going to inform them anything else apart from the fact that you've been found guilty. We will also mention
User
to them
joined
that
your
you
channel.
did say you picked up from someone else that you were treating, just so you are given a fair chance within that department. Any decision made by your FIFR department is between
User
yourself
joined
and
your
them
channel.
and has no implications on DOJ. Mr. Richard Jackson, has he paid the fine?
He has paid.
Okay, could you please escort him to DOC, give him the correct overalls if they are available, and please imprison him for 50 months. This court is adjourned. Thank you.
Alright, come on.
I need to talk to Cole.
User left your channel.
Bless you. I stay right here.
Like Freeman and Marshall.
Alright,
Jamie,
so,
where are you?
It's over here.
It's
over here.
Have you, are you,
Oh, what happened with that?
you're actually up to
Oh, Serge. Hi, Serge. Sky?
What's up, bud?